My name's Helen Moss. I got involved with First for Kirkby 3 years ago, and I stood in the election 2 years ago for Shevington Ward, and I took 20% of the votes. I'm standing now for the Northwood Ward where I live.
My name's Brian Johns and I was born in Kirkby 57 years ago. Apart from a brief spell when I was 17 and joined the Royal Navy for 5 years, I've always been a resident of Kirkby. And after coming out of the Royal Navy in my early 20s, I married my then fiancée and we set up our home in Kirkby.
My name's Wesley Aiden, I'm a local lad. I've always grew up in Kirkby all my life and I've just always seen how much it's just deteriorated through lack of money and funding. How much the council have done very little.
I'm Matt Donnelly. I've lived in Kirkby most of my life. Started off living in Northwood and have lived in various parts of Kirkby. Went to school in Kirkby Primary Schools and went to Roughwood Secondary before I got knocked down. And these days I'm a scientist. I study the circulation of the world's oceans. And through my education in scientific discipline, I've come to learn about how important it is to collect evidence and look at it and analyse it and recognise problems and come up with solutions. And as I look around Kirkby, I see that that's not being done.
My name's Tony Barton. I'm a South Dean resident and I am the candidate for Cherryfield Ward. I'm a self-employed youth worker and project manager who lives and works in the area, and mainly with young people and older people on issue-based projects.
My name's Dave Kelly. I'm the nominating officer for First for Kirkby. First for Kirkby's probably most unlike any other political party because we've quite deliberately not got the normal constraints and structures that political parties have to work within. And we've decided that we'll be in the community, for the community, without being shackled with having to follow out political agendas attached to a political party. And I think it's quite novel that we'll actually put the people first who we're looking to serve and represent, rather than promote any political ambition or political dogma.
My name's Geraldine Robertson and I am the nominated candidate for First for Kirkby in Central Ward.
If something upsets Helen, she's like a dog with a bone. If I believe that something is wrong, I like to get it put right.
Every project that you take on board in life, it's always fraught with difficulties. It could fall at the first hurdle, but I like to do research and find out what is required, what can be done and how we achieve it.
I believe in fairness, equality, and also councils being accountable for their actions and not making decisions behind closed doors on behalf of the people that live there.
One of the things which really drives me as a person is looking after the interests of the young people in the town. For 5-6 years, I've spent a great deal of time reviving and restoring the first Kirkby Scout group, which almost closed.
The Kirkby I grew up in had everything you could desire. It had fantastic facilities, leisure, sport, the Kirkby Suite, where we went, we grew up, we would, seeing bands there was celebrations, there was everything you could, we had fields where football matches, football leagues, winning sides from Kirkby, playing other people from Merseyside, and we were great. We had world champion boxers, European Cup winners as footballers. We had everything.
I love family. I love family life, equality for people. Love to see people getting on in life. I knew Kirkby as a child, and I love Kirkby with a passion. What we had, the facilities we had, the sports people that grew up, the famous people.
I've lived here all my life and I've seen it deteriorate, especially Kirkby Town Centre. Kirkby as a whole is getting let down at the moment by the councillors. They let Son I come here The complaints that people had about Sonai, that's eventually gone now. They're getting a waste transfer station, and it seems like Knowsley Council don't care about Kirkby.
I got involved in the workplace on the trade union front. For many years I acted as a shop steward and then progressed to being a convener.
Just to make a change, just to basically just challenge things that aren't being challenged. Everybody that's in First for Kirkby has been a part of this community and tried to do good for it. Not everyone's a brain surgeon and knows everything about politics. I don't, but anybody that's got a social conscience for this town and for their own community should be a part of First for Kirkby and be involved. And if you're not confident about politics, there's people here that will teach you.
I mean, I was never one that was outwardly confident, but that's grown as the years go on. And you see people saying, oh, well, we can't change this, but it's the empowerment and they can change and they do want change.
I think that's one of the big key things that First for Kirkby is interested in, is looking after the education and making sure the experiences are offered to young people so they can make the most of their lives and reach their full potential.
I would like to see a better Kirkby. I'd like to see a brighter future for my 9-year-old daughter. I'd like to see her have activities that she can do locally.
I've been active against the bedroom tax and helping people out in the community that have been suffering against it. I've also been involved with a federation of the bedroom tax, and that's all different groups all over Merseyside.
I just think that Knowsley Council get everything a bit back to front.
I've been a part of the union, Trades Union Council.
My aim is for my daughter and for her future, for the children's future, because, you know, if you're going to get something changed, it's not going to be instant anyway.
I'd rather be positive. I think we need positivity now more than ever. We need to be talking about what First for Kirkby is doing and will do should any of us be lucky enough to get voted in.
One of the things what saddened me over the midst of time is the total lack of accountability of living within a one-party state, whereby people actually allow political ambition to get in the way of serving the community.
Hopefully what they want, what the people want, what I want, and not what is put upon us.
Field Lane's the forgotten part of actually Cherryfield Ward, and to be honest with you, it's a disgrace what the council is not doing down there. They've got no public facilities, nowhere to meet, nowhere for the young people to gather. They've got a little sort of a park which is in the dark of a night. So basically another aspect of what we're trying to do is to get somewhere for Field Lane, like a community centre, a community hub. That's part of the ethos of what First for Kirkby is about. It's listening to people and getting out there and actually fighting on their behalf to get stuff that they want, not what the council wants, what they actually want in the communities, what they need in the communities.
I was one of the campaigners to get rid of Sonai. And you know, that was a battle and a half. Ironically, after Sonai closed down, my 21-year-old daughter got lung cancer. I've been told you can't blame Sonai on that, but you know, we don't smoke, she doesn't smoke, so what else has caused her to get lung cancer, and rare lung cancer as well.
The people who are in a position to do something seem aloof because it's a one-party state, and as such we feel from the group of like-minded people from First for Kirkby, if we're given a fair hearing as to what we're about, then people may give us the opportunity to say, we'll give you a chance. The bedroom tax, for instance, it doesn't affect me personally, but for over 12 months I've been supportive of the group who've been trying to do something locally in Kirkby.
But the first thing that upset me was the episode when Everton Football Club was supposed to come here, and where we sold off, like, what was it? I think it was like 60-70 million pounds worth of assets for 12 million pounds to Tesco, and the council poured their eggs in one basket before any eggs were laid. And with that, we've lost our sports centre, library, a college, a school, a swimming baths, leisure facilities. I just don't know where to start with it.
the secondary schools have been replaced, but they've been replaced with buildings which don't seem to be fit for purpose. And you see community centres which it's actually quite difficult to hire a room at, which is crazy.
It's like the tail wagging the dog. They're not interested. They don't care in the slightest what we want. It's what they want and how it fits in with them. And unfortunately, it's a Labour-run council from Huyton.
I sensed straight away the anger within the neighbours who felt so let down by what the Labour Party were doing. And people were actually talking then about voting for the alternative. Unfortunately, the alternative is the British National Party, which I don't think it's an alternative for any community.
The current regime are telling the people what they're having. There's very little in consultation. The desire of the people doesn't match what the local council are providing for them.
First for Kirkby is a local political group. It is local residents who are from the community and they're fighting for the community. They're hoping to be the voice of the local people.
I went travelling for like a year and a half, and before I left we were promised all these new good things that were going to come to Kirkby, and then by the time I got back there was nothing here. All I saw was rubble, and everything that was promised was gone. Never materialised.
We're not worried about a national political agenda. We're not worried about scoring points against other political parties. We're quite happy to work with anybody to try and make a difference.
We don't need to have a policy on international reserves, arms, on the International Monetary Fund or anything else.
We're not in anyone's pockets. We're all hard-working local people.
Our councillors are reading from a script, and I don't believe that they prepare those scripts themselves.
Any political party is basically both cheeks of the same bottom.
The cuts that are going on, the loss of Kirkby College.
Destination Kirkby fiasco, which Knowsley Council, in partnership with Tesco and Everton, came up with a great idea that they were going to land grab a lot of green space and build this huge sort of retail park.
The Golden Eagle's been knocked down, Tesco is supposed to be building, everyone's waiting for this super mega store that's not coming.
And that it was too big and wrong for Kirkby. We ended up getting proved right because the public inspector, when it was called in by the government, actually said the same thing that we said, that it should happen in the town centre, that the existing town centre was big enough for any sort of regeneration project, etc. And the government at the time actually binned it.
That isn't in the best interests of us, that we've invested millions of pounds on PFI. PFI that you and me and every other resident is going to be paying for years to come for services that aren't fit for purpose. They're not actually providing a service for the community. And that's the problem. We've constantly been sold short by our elected representatives because they put their political dogma and infighting and ambition before us.
What we've got is independents that are willing to get up and have a go, and I think it's got to be people from the community to get up and do something. Now everybody sees through the same old rhetoric and promises that don't materialise, and just people taking advantage of the positions, and I think it's communities now that have got to get up as independents and do something about it.
It's okay, Knowsley Council telling us that they've spent 12.5 million on the leisure centre. It's not fit for purpose, it's mediocre. It's all right telling us that they've spent 5 million refurbishing the Kirkby Suite into the Kirkby Public Centre. We've lost the facility.
And it's all that was there, and the desire to have that back again.
Tesco run the town centre. We're asking Tesco to please lower the rents so that the local traders can actually do business there and stay open, and we can attract other national brands to come in and start trading in Kirkby. We're asking Knowsley Council, get rid of the car parking charges. It's stopping people from actually coming and shopping in Kirkby. These things you would think would be common sense. If you want a place to thrive, then you don't put barriers up. You actually encourage people.
So we're willing to work with anybody to make a difference in Kirkby, whether or not that's other political parties, and the council employees themselves. And I know many council employees who have worked with on things like the Kirkby Festival who do an absolutely fantastic job. Unfortunately, it's the big strategic vision of the council, if it has one, that seems to be the problem. There are people who are making decisions without any real regard for what the people who live in Kirkby and Knowsley really need. And that's all tied to a political establishment which has, since 1974, had a complete monopoly on power. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Well, if you've been in power since 1974 continuously, then that cannot be a good thing.
I think when you've got a one-party state, which is what we've got, and you've got no opposition, which is what we've got, I think it's just human nature that you don't take an interest. You're not interested in what people say. In fact, you try and stifle what people say because it goes against your power.
And people are cynical. People actually grasp, in the main, it's rhetoric. It's about them promoting a political ideology. It's about them being on a higher plane than what you are.
I go in with an open mind, obviously with an agenda, because if you don't work to some form of script, you don't achieve anything.
The 5 issues we're talking about is education, facilities, the town centre, environment and transport.
We're also meeting with the transport authorities to negotiate better transport links for Kirkby and better bus shelters and things like that, where a lot of the pensioners are off bus routes.
Because we're faced with, at the moment, jobs, albeit they are jobs, such as warehouse packers, freight forwarding, but none of the more tangible jobs which brings growth or economy to an area, such as engineering and manufacturing. But that doesn't mean to say that there aren't skill sets from our children that we're bringing up in this area. And a town the size of this, of some 44,000 residents, as families, have a lot to offer. But if they're not receiving that back in what they've got to offer from the council, bringing in instead of just mundane jobs, and I'm not criticising jobs as such, but it doesn't bring what we need in the economy, is spending power in the area.
You can't even go and buy your weekly shopping at an affordable price, because the only shops that are available is either the Co-op, which is overpriced, or the likes of Heron and Cool Trader. It's not a choice. You haven't got a vast choice.
So who do you blame for that, if anyone?
Well, it's obviously down to A, the council, and B, Tesco.
The 2 piles of rubble, there's one where the Eagle used to be and there's one where the petrol station used to be. Both of those spots of land are owned by Tesco. Knowsley Council would have us believe that these things like the new health centre, the market, the Kirkby Public Centre, all these things are actually progressive and they're for the benefit of Kirkby people. Now, they may well be individually, a market if it takes off, if it sustains. Yeah, a health centre, that's the NHS, got nothing to do with Knowsley Council. And the public centre has actually lost us 3 or 4 assets by putting everything in one building.
We were in the Premier League 30 years ago with the facilities that we have. Sadly, we're down in the 3rd, 4th division now.
People need to know that there's a different option other than just voting Labour.
First for Kirkby are not controlled by a central government. They're not controlled by a whip.
First for Kirkby's biggest challenge, I think, is getting people to actually get out and use their vote.
That's the biggest challenge. I've been a Labour voter all my life. But I'm afraid to say Labour has let us down.
They want facilities, they want a quality of life. They don't want to be told, this is what you're having.
But when you're actually getting local councillors in a one-party state putting political ambition before residents, that's got to be wrong. They should have had all candidates standing in local elections should have the general principle of who they are and what they are. But they should be serving local residents. It really is as simple as that.
What happened was we all went to the budget meeting in Knowsley Civic Centre, and we were referred to by at least 2, possibly 3 candidates of our local council as being as mad as cuckoos, that we all lived in cloud cuckoo land.
Obviously, if 6 of us get voted in, that would be fantastic. If only one of us can get voted in, at least we'll have a voice.
And even if I personally or First for Kirkby didn't agree, it's about giving the person the option, or giving the people the options.
First for Kirkby is not a stagnant party. We are fresh. We are finding our way, but we're finding our way very quickly.
Once I start something, I see it through. I'm very tenacious.
I think what makes Kirkby, First for Kirkby, really interesting is that the candidates who are standing in this year's elections aren't going to be saddled with having to have the party political whip on them, that they have to vote in line with what the party's policies are. All our candidates are committed to voting in the best interests of the community they live in, the community they're looking to get elected in. And I think that's why First for Kirkby is a real winner and a real alternative.